Welcome to the Astro Psyche. This is your weekly astrology forecast for May 13th through the 19th. And this week is about unmasking the true self with Venus, the Sun, Mercury, Jupiter, and Uranus all conjunct in Taurus, in the sign of Taurus this particular week. So, I think we are all constantly in a process of unmasking the true self, and that this is more about unpeeling the layers like an onion versus something that we ever do in finality or all in one fell swoop. And this week, there's a particular emphasis around unmasking and connecting with the true self. My name is Shawna McGrath. I'm a psychotherapist and astrologer, and I'm really excited to be able to share the astrology of this week with you from a psychological perspective. So, let us break this down, what's happening. So, a lot of the action and energy that's happening is in the sign of Taurus. So, we've had Jupiter and Uranus there for a while. So, that energy has been existing. And a couple of weeks ago, we talked about how Jupiter and Uranus were conjunct, and this was a heightening of their energies together. So, Jupiter being the planet of philosophy, beliefs, faith, belief systems, morality, sense of justice, learning, exploring, growth, expansion, abundance, etc. And Uranus being questioning the values or practices that we have been holding as the norm, and maybe reinventing the norm or maybe changing things in a certain kind of way. And so these energies, this reinvention and expansion, has been present, especially over the last year. And we're getting an added little dose of that medicine this particular week. So the Sun will first conjunct Uranus this week, and then it will conjunct Jupiter. So the Sun is a symbol of our conscious awareness, that which we are aware of, that which we know to be true. It's a symbol of the ego, the identity, the part of you that says, yes, this is me, this is who I am, this is how I identify. And the part of you that is able to differentiate between self and other. And the part of you that is able to have a distinct sense of autonomy and self and presence. And at a more practical level, in the external world, the Sun is a symbol of our paternal figures, folks in authority positions, and even vitality and your health and wellness from a more energetic sort of perspective, the part of you that feels energetic and alive and passionate and excited about life. So when the Sun is conjunct Uranus and Jupiter this week, there might be a desire or an inspiration to move against conventional rules or conventional social norms, either that something that you have in place for yourself or something in your community or something in your social structure. And ideally, this is for the sake of your authenticity, and this can be very quiet and subtle, or it can be something that's more explicit and overt. But it is really a questioning of how and where you can be who you are, and how to follow an impulse to be who it is that you are. And even if you decide to have a sense of masking of your true self, that is still a choice that you are making. to protect yourself or for the sake of convenience. And I think this week in particular, because it is so necessary so often for many of us to mask a part of ourselves, that it's really important to this week maybe explore the small areas of life that you can find where you can unmask and where you can be yourself and where you can be weird and wiggly and wild, or doesn't even have to be wild. It can be quiet or unconventional in some way. Where are those places or times for you where you feel like you can be your most natural self? That is really important. And there may be this element here because of the sun around around authority or something, maybe possibly involving like a patriarchal type of norm that you are questioning. And so all of this is really good and healthy to do so, to again like question um, what is you versus what is cultural. So uh, the preferences that you have and the way that you're being, is this something that you are invoked to do, that you're inspired to do, or is it something that is being put upon you? And then how do you want to navigate that? I think so often our our social climate or our cultural norm is something that we, because it's something that we're living in, we don't always see it, we're not always aware of it. And so the sun in astrology is really helpful in this way because it helps us become aware of something that maybe has been sort of like static in the background where we haven't noticed it. And then once you notice it and you hear it, you cannot unhear it. And then there is a greater sense of choice, usually, to be able to opt in or opt out. And even if you cannot turn down the static, so to speak, you can decide, where to position yourself in the room, or you can decide how you want to relate to that. I hope that makes sense. So the other piece of this is that Venus will also make a conjunction to Uranus this week. So Venus will be exactly conjunct Uranus in Taurus. It will conjunct Jupiter exactly next week, but it's really in the ballpark here. So it's really in this equation. Venus is a symbol of relationships, beauty, aesthetics, the capacity to bring healing, the capacity to find a sense of harmony or repair, or even relational nourishment in some sort of way. So Venus has a very healing, smoothing out sort of effect to it, especially so in the case of Venus in Taurus. Because Taurus is a fixed earth sign. So there is a practicality to it. There is a sense of deepening and wanting to move in, down, towards, to bring things together. And so let's see, what did I want to say about this? So yeah, Venus conjunct Uranus is a bit eclectic. There is, again, this impulse to seek I'm pausing here because it's more than just freedom or autonomy. It's a sense of inner freedom. It's a sense of feeling like you are yourself in relationships. And so this is something to notice or to think about, especially this week, is when or how you feel like yourself in a relationship or not. And what are the ways that you would like to shift how you show up in relationship or how you show up around others? From the full spectrum of relationships, from platonic to romantic, acquaintances to good friends, these things. There's different ways that we have of being at the different levels of intimacy. And so Venus conjunct Uranus is questioning how you can be more of yourself in relationship. I think also with this combo, themes of ambivalence may arise, like sort of feeling like you maybe maybe it feels difficult to feel like yourself in relationship and wanting to move away or wanting to have space or distance, and then how to maintain a sense of yourself in relationship and how to do that without simply moving away. So I think that this is really a process of self exploration and self discovering and noticing what your truth is and um, what your truth is and what that might mean about your wishes, desires, and your needs. And this actually leads into another piece of what's happening this week is that we'll have the first quarter moon in Leo. So this is exact on Wednesday, the 7th. Wait, is that right? Yes. Wait. No, it's not right. Wednesday the 15th. So yeah, I wanted to say we had our new moon in Taurus on Tuesday, the 7th of May. And so we're in the waxing phase. This is the first quarter moon. It's the point in between our new moon in Taurus and the full moon in I believe that's in Sagittarius, that we'll have next week. So the waxing first quarter moon, it is this emotional point of wanting to expand upon the things that we're initiating within this monthly lunar cycle. And in particular, the moon being in the sign of Leo in this particular point is a symbol of um, craving attention, admiration, love, appreciation, and really wanting to be and feel seen for who you are. Not for like a performance or for um something more mundane. Like the moon in Leo is really about wanting to be appreciated and seen and loved and adored as you are, who you are. And I think that also with the moon in Leo, this particular week, there can be themes that come up around the ways that you notice that people notice you, like the ways that you do attract attention, um, or affection or love. And that there sometimes there's complicated feelings around that because sometimes receiving love, receiving receiving affection, receiving any sort of warmth from another person can sometimes feel complicated, um, especially when there's a sense of maybe you have that mask on and you're putting on some sort of persona or performance even, and the person is responding to that in a positive way. It can feel a little weird because then that person is not actually seeing you. And so what does this mean to you? So I think this is all like a part of this navigating how and when and where it feels safe to unmask the true self, and that it is really important that we do so. And also, it's important that we have a space where it feels safe to do that. Because I think with this particular first quarter moon in Leo, there's a vulnerability to fearing like not being received. There's a vulnerability to feel like there isn't that response that we're wanting, that people are not going to see us in the way that we want to be seen, or that they're not going to like what they see when they see us as we actually are. And so I think these are all things to think about. And um, what else did I want to say about that? I think this is also feeling into the phase of this week is we're continuing this process of exploring something new and developing, especially like we were talking about the new moon in Taurus last week and how that was this marker of developing into the insights and revelations that you've had in the last couple of months, and um, bringing a more practical a more practical, practical, embodied approach to some of the ideas that you've been sitting with over the last couple of months. Okay, so along those lines, the other piece of what's happening this week is Mercury is moving into the sign of Taurus. So Mercury is moving from Aries into Taurus. And Mercury has been in Aries for a bit of time because it had its retrograde there. So I think there's a couple different ways that this is going to go down. Let me tell you, so Mercury is making this move into Taurus on Wednesday, the 15th. So, Mercury is the planet that is a symbol of our logical mind, our thought process, the way that we communicate with our words or written speech. It's also a symbol of our ability to connect with symbolic reasoning or symbolic tools, things like astrology and tarot, and even dreams and our intuition. Um, and so, this part of psyche, this part of the mind is moving from a very like quick and instinctual sign, which is Aries, into a sign that's really about slowing down and like exploring something and deepening into something versus moving quickly in broad strokes over things. So Taurus is that fixed earth sign. So it's Taurus is really about moving into something and developing something and elaborating on it and taking things in a slow, steady, and a slow, steady way, and also like really wanting to um, deepen as well. So the logical mind this week there's this shift from this more quick moving energy to this sort of like, oh, let me like really sit with this and let me really think about this and explore this. And I think also there's these themes around, where am I going with this? What do I want from this? What is We're thinking more about the long term this particular week and this whole next month with Mercury being in the sign of Taurus. So the other piece of this is that Mercury will immediately make a square to Pluto when it moves into Taurus, because Pluto is in the sign of Aquarius. It's at about 2 degrees Aquarius. And so anytime a planet moves into a fixed sign, it is making an aspect to Pluto at this point in time. So, Mercury Pluto is a bit of an intense, striking kind of energy. There's this laser-like focus of the mind when we have Mercury Pluto. There is an ability to like really hone in into the root of an issue, into like what is really going on here, um what is at the bottom of this? Like that's really what Mercury Pluto wants to know. And so I think that there is a depth and intensity of understanding this week, especially Wednesday forward, where we might get a gut or intuitive or knowing hit on something. There might be sort of like a moving down into the way that we understand something. And it's a fantastic time for thinking deeply about things, of course, research, investigation. When I think about Mercury Pluto, I think about what is a helpful and life giving way for you to spend your mental focus, because Mercury Pluto, there's a tendency to like really sort of like go all in on whatever it is that you're thinking about or researching or working on. And so what is the most like what is a helpful direction for that? Something that brings you something versus ruminating where it feels like maybe you're just stressing yourself out. Um yeah, I think definitely be gentle with yourself even when it feels like you are maybe ruminating and spinning your wheels. And if you do start to notice that, um I think it can be helpful to wonder, oh, like, oh, I think I'm ruminating. I'm wondering what's going on there. Like, why? what's up with that? Yeah, like why is this bothering me so much and what might be there? And then you can kind of use that to facilitate a deepening of understanding of what the underlying feeling might be. I think that there can also be a sense of identifying a hidden truth or treasure because Pluto is about identifying something that has been hidden away. And sometimes something that's been hidden away or repressed or pushed, anything that's been pushed away, sometimes there can be um, a sense of pain or shame associated with that. But sometimes there can actually be a healing that comes when we look back at something that has been hidden because it can often be very validating and it can also kind of psychologically free up a sense of vitality because we use energy to push things down, to push things away. And so when we relieve that, then we feel like more of ourselves. And so this again goes back to the unmasking that it for most folks it takes energy to hide parts of ourselves. And we don't always do this consciously. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we do this unconsciously. Sometimes we learned to mask or hide parts of ourselves so early in life that we don't realize that we're doing it. And so then when we start to sort of like peel off parts of the mask, and it sounds a little gross maybe, but when we start to do that, um, then there's sort of this like there's less energy that is being spent holding that up, and then we have more energy for ourselves. Okay. Did I want to say anything else about this? Okay. So, yeah. So, overall, this week, the vibe, the themes are, I would say, definitely around your self expression, around connecting with the ego part of self, which is the sun. But also, that Leo moon in here, and also the sun being connected to Jupiter and Uranus. This is about connecting with the ego self in a way that is differentiating or individuating, where you have a healthy sense of self and self esteem and sort of exploring those kinds of issues, how you identify and how your identity fits you or not. Um, how you feel seen, heard, and understood, especially in your community. There may be themes around relationships with parental or authority type figures. Um, and also, I want to say too, this could be looking at your relationship or feelings about masculine energy or expressions and what that means to you. And that's sort of bringing in the sun as a symbol of uh, that masculine energy and expression or paternal energy and how you relate to that in your life. Okay, so let us pull some cards here. Oh, okay, that one need to come out. Okay, so I'm pulling uh, an oracle card for you and some tarot cards. So this is a moment in time for you to get into a connection with yourself in whatever way works for you. So to find a sense of rhythmic movement or a sense of stillness. Um, to focus on a sensation that you feel in your body, or maybe a sound. And as you're here, feel your whole body relax, feel your psyche relax. And bring your focus into your heart. Find a sense of connection there. There might be a sense of movement, or maybe there's a sense of um, flow or stillness. and possibly maybe a a question or a situation arises from that place. Okay. So, let's see here. I'm like getting myself organized. Getting distracted here. Okay. So, first card, this is from like a guardian angel deck, is the oracle card. It is called Inspiration. And I'll read it to you. It says, "A wave of inspiration and a stream of beautiful ideas are about to enter your aura. It is important that you trust your intuition at this time. Pay attention to unusual thoughts that come to your mind and do not discount your imagination. Many wonderful ideas which have served humanity were initially scoffed at or ridiculed. Your guardian angel or your guardian ancestor will help you discover ways to apply your ideas and manifest new realities in your life." I really feel Uranus in this, especially the Sun-Uranus. So this card, the cards are all different colors. This one happens to be an orange color. Um, so yeah, there's something, I don't know, do you have an inspiration? Is there something that you're inspired to do? And the message here, of course, is that you don't have to do that all by yourself, um that you can draw on the Mercury and Taurus energy here to pay attention to unusual thoughts that are coming into your mind, and that you can ask for help from your ancestors, from your spiritual guidance team. Okay, so the first tarot card is the Eight of Cups. And see if you can see there. Okay. So to me, this card is usually a walking away from something. It's usually a sign that someone is regretfully walking away. Like they're not like, yeah, like they're not like delighted to leave. They're usually very sad and disappointed that whatever it is has not worked out. Um, and in this particular deck, this person is sitting in what looks like a little cafe, and they have one cup in front of them with like a little plume of steam, maybe, or smoke. And then there's all of these other cups um, that are on the walls. And so in this particular deck, the message is um, Eight of Cups, making a choice in favor of one, we have to give up the other. It's unavoidable. Don't regret a missed opportunity. And so I think it's really interesting because in the typical Smith-Waite tarot deck, the figure is walking away from all of the cups. They're like walking away from the entire situation. And in this particular deck, there's this idea that you need to choose one thing. Or you don't need to, you don't have to. I mean, you choose what you want. Do what resonates with you. But there's this thing here around like, needing to focus your energies maybe on one particular thing. And this is the suit of the cup, so it's around emotions and relationships, so we're really in Venus kind of territory here. Okay, we're going to go back to that. Let's see what the other cards are. So the second card is the Nine of Cups, so the very next very next card in the suit of the cups. So the Nine of Cups is actually about satisfaction. It's like, I think it's sometimes referred to as the emotional satisfaction card. The Nine of Cups, the nine in general is a sense of culmination. The Nine of Cups is a symbol of having your emotional needs met and just feeling really, really good about your life. And especially again around the cups, there's this sense of emotional satisfaction or relational satisfaction. And so It's interesting here. I'm not quite sure what this might be for you, but there's something here around either like, okay, actually, the 8 of cups in this case, it feels like discernment to me. So there's something here around using your discernment around choosing one thing, um, and also like possibly letting go of the things that are not quite it. Like, if there is something or some things, and this could be like situations in your life, it could also be ways of being, I don't know. But there's something here where it's like it's about letting go of mediocre stuff or mediocre situations or things that are really not 100% for you, and choosing, like prioritizing or discerning maybe between those. And then when you do that, when you do this process of like discernment and figuring out and focusing more. So the other thing too is in this card, this person is sitting in the cafe. They are not walking away, but their focus is intently on just this one cup. So all of the other cups are existing and their perception, their focus is on this one cup. So it might be that maybe there's a lot of stuff going on. And maybe this is more about your mental and emotional focus being on the things that are really important for you. And then when you do that, there is a sense of emotional satisfaction via the Nine of Cups. Um, Now, I pulled the 9 of cups reversed, and so it's like that's telling me that there's something here that needs to happen around the 8 of cups territory. There's something here, maybe you're figuring out what it is that you want to focus on. Um, okay, and then the third card is the Wheel of Fortune. And so the Wheel of Fortune is a symbol of the things in life that are outside of our control. Um, And often these things feel faded or like there is no rhyme or reason to them. I'm thinking about how astrology is really compelling for a lot of people because it helps us to see the natural cycles of life and not just the seasonal cycles like the sun's path, but also your individual life cycle. So the cycle of having, a Saturn transit or a Uranus transit or a Jupiter transit, and that we all have these different periods where there's different parts of ourselves that are turned on or amplified, and then at different times, and then maybe other times those parts are sort of faded into the background, and that um, the transits connecting to the birth chart are sort of the way that I see it, at least, that uh, the transits help us identify what is happening in our lives and help us to find um, alternate ways of expressing and embodying the more universal energy. For example, having a Saturn transit, if we know that that is approaching, we hopefully are going to be mentally prepared to deal with being more devoted, being more responsible, taking on more responsibility. Um, I think Saturn transits are also a symbol of a time where if something is not really true for us or not really sustainable for us, it can that can be revealed. And so then we're like, okay, this is Saturn time. So now I need to be really realistic with myself about um, what my capacity is, what I can do, what I cannot do, and what is mentally, emotionally, financially sustainable, etc. Blah blah blah. Okay, anyways, I digress. So the Wheel of Fortune is about these time periods. And so when this card comes up, I think there can be this sense of a time period changing, or maybe wanting a time period to change, wanting things to be a little different. I'm thinking a lot about how, when I have clients, whether that is a reading or psychotherapy, sometimes we're talking about, okay, like when is this transit going to be over? When is it going to end? And I think that that can be really helpful and can kind of like calm our anxiety and help us feel like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And also, um, there is something that we gain from experiencing a transit, that it is transformational. And so the whole like theme that I'm getting from these particular cards at this particular time is that there is something here for you around letting go or walking away from what doesn't work and really sitting in and planting yourself in what is working for you. And that might, be like a fine-tuning process. I think like always it's never it's typically not a one and done kind of decision. There's usually constant refining and fine-tuning, but there's something here now around focusing on what is good for you. What is uh What is life-giving for you? What feels like it works for you? What feels like it gives you a sense of openness and ease and well-being in your life? And that there's a sense of emotional satisfaction when you go through this process. And I think that it is a process. Um, and as you do that, then that affects your future life, that your future life is not going to change before you go through this process because I mean, like, the biggest thing with astrology is that we are an embodiment of these energies, that you are living your chart. And that yes, there are certain conditions that are outside of your control, and then there are things that are in your control, and that ideally, um, we're working with what we can, and that brings a sense of satisfaction, and that I think also the Wheel of Fortune. There's this sense of meaning that we can feel when we are participating in life, when we are participating in not just going through the motions, but also feeling moved and feeling called and feeling like, yes, this is the right thing for me. And if you don't know what the right thing is, that is okay. That you can give it time, that you can sit with it. Um, that often, if we're not sure, that there is something there to either be worked out or processed, or there's more information. Um, yes. So that is your reading for this week. That's what I have to say. I hope that you enjoyed this. And yeah, I hope that you have a really good week. I hope that this has been helpful for you. Um, and I hope it is a super easeful week and that you get the most out of it. Um, As always, my name is Shawna McGrath. I'm a psychotherapist and an astrologer, and I work in private practice where I offer psychotherapy from a depth oriented perspective, really focusing on working with some of these themes like getting into the true self and a more symbolic way of understanding yourself. And of course, I include astrology in that process. If you're interested in learning more about me and my work, you can find me on my website, theastropsyche.com. Sending lots of love, wishing you a wonderful week, and I'll see you soon. Bye.